I'm Harrison Graham. We got a loaded episode of Chicago Bears Now coming up here. DJ Moore, is he recruiting Marvin Harrison Jr.? We'll dive into that. Could the Bears trade the number one pick to the Washington Commanders, who currently sit at number 2? And does Matt Eberflus know what his fate is already? Kind of think that he does. All that and more coming up here on today's show. But hey, it's Packers Hate Week. Bears, Packers, FGBs in the comments. Hit that subscribe button and join us this Sunday, 2:15 Central Time. We'll get you ready for kickoff as the Bears look to play spoiler and beat the Packers and knock them out of the playoffs. Again, if the Packers win, they're in. If they lose, they got about a 20% chance of making it. So the Bears can play spoiler and beat the Packers at Lambeau Field for the first time since 2015. Let's get it done. Subscribe and join us this Sunday. Okay. DJ Moore, is he recruiting Marvin Harrison Jr.? I would say recruiting's a bit of a strong word, but he's obviously been vocal about his thoughts on Justin Fields, and he was recently asked about Marvin Harrison Jr. as well, and here's what he had to say, and I actually didn't know this little tidbit. He said, I grew up with Marvin Harrison. We ran on the same track team. Whatever we do in the upcoming draft, if we get him, it'll be all love. If we don't and we go a different route, I mean, what can I do about it? I kind of take that as like he's just kind of once again doubling down like, yeah, what can I do about it? But, yeah, I'd love to just continue to build this offense and keep Justin, because this is, of course, what he did say about Fields most recently when asked about him. He said, he's him. I want him to be the quarterback. I said what I said. Now it's on the higher-ups. It's up to them. So you got that quote where it's on the higher-ups. Then he's like, what can I do about it if we go a different route? So he's kind of towing that line, right? Like, he's remaining professional. Like, he's not going super egomaniac, but he's also kind of sending little messages like, hey, I want Justin. The locker room wants Justin. If we got Marvin Harrison, that'd be dope. He's really kind of balancing that out pretty nicely and pretty, I don't want to say like, kind of like, is he doing it on purpose? Like, it feels calculated a bit, but again, not in like a douchey ego player type of way, right? Like, DJ Moore's a pro. Like, whatever happens, he's going to roll with it. But at the same time, I think he knows as a leader of this team and a guy who was brought here in a trade for the number one overall pick that he does at least have a voice that has value on this football team. So he's certainly going to give his thoughts out there. And then you got this going on. There's been a lot of interaction between Marvin Harrison and the Bears and Justin Fields and DJ Moore. Justin Fields kind of showing some love to DJ on his IG post. Marvin Harrison with the fire emoji. And this isn't the first time MHJ has liked a Fields post or a DJ Moore post. So these guys have been interacting with one another. And look, it's just very interesting, man. And, we've gone over the scenarios. We'll continue to go over the scenarios, but it's certainly fun to think about. And, I don't think there's necessarily a wrong answer, but the keeping Justin and adding Marvin and some other pieces certainly could be the right answer. We'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out. If you guys want Marvin Harrison Jr. in Chicago, spam MHJ in the comments right now. I would love to see it happen. If we don't get Marvin and we go a different route, I'm not going to just completely burst into flames, but I think Marvin Harrison would be a lot of fun in this offense. Type MHJ if you'd like to see it happen. Now, speaking of the draft, do the Washington Commanders want Caleb Williams? Well, there is a report out there that they are very interested in the USC quarterback. And as we enter Week 18, obviously the Bears have clinched that number one overall pick, but after that is very much in flux. Washington, New England, right there at 2 and 3. If they both lose, that will be 2 and 3. New England could be the 2. Washington could be at 2. It just depends on strength of schedule, which is very, very close right now. There's a couple of games that could determine that. Arizona's not really a factor in those tiebreakers because their SOS is much stronger. If the Giants lose and a combination of Washington and New England win, the Giants could move up into the top 3 potentially. I will say this. Trading down with Washington or New England, quite frankly, to still get Marvin Harrison Jr. while also adding a future first or maybe a second and a third this year, whatever the case may be, it's an appealing option for the Bears. It really, really is. It's kind of, you could argue, the best of both worlds. If you're in the camp of you want Marvin and want to keep Justin, that was going to be harder with Arizona in the top 3. But if they're not now, you move down a slot or 2. You get to keep Marvin. You keep DJ, obviously. Justin Fields is still here, and maybe you add a quarterback in the second round to push Fields or something like that. It'll certainly be fascinating to play out. But there is a report out there that Washington is very intrigued in Caleb Williams, new ownership. They may be looking for that kind of sexy, splashy type of quarterback to reset the franchise with, and I definitely think he fits the bill of just that. More to discuss on this topic, plus we'll get to Matt Eberflus as well, but first, let's talk about Game Time, the best ticketing app when it comes to last-minute hot deals. Listen, you want to go to Bears-Packers at Lambeau Field on Sunday? Best prices available with Game Time right now. Do not miss out. Make the drive. This is one of the more fun Bears-Packers kind of build-up games we can remember. Obviously, there's been a lot of disappointment in the past, but could you imagine being in that stadium if the Bears knocked the Packers out of the playoffs? There's nothing better as a sports fan than walking out of a rival stadium after having beaten them. Like, that's the best. Like, winning at home's fun. But winning on the road against your rival, I'm not sure there's anything better than that. You have an opportunity to do that. You can also go to some Bulls games, lots of home games coming up for a team that's been fun to watch recently as well. Get going with Game Time, the best prices available for concerts, Bears games, Bulls games, other sporting events, comedy shows, etc. And when you create an account by downloading the Game Time app, use our promo code BearsChat. That gets you $20 off. It is Game Time, best seat, lowest price guaranteed. If you find a lower price elsewhere in the same section on a different app, take a screenshot, send it to Game Time. They will lower the price for you. Game Time, download it today. Use promo code BearsChat for $20 off. Caleb Williams obviously is a polarizing prospect. Teams are going to have to do homework. And look, there may not be a team that does more homework than the Chicago Bears on this guy, because even if they're leaning one way or the other, I don't think Ryan Poles is going to tip his hand that early in this process. He's going to do a thorough evaluation of Caleb Williams, of Drake May, Jaden Daniels, as you look at my top quarterback prospects this year. He's going to look into Michael Penix and J.J. McCarthy. He'll look into the next tier of guys as well. Bo Nix, who just accepted his Senior Bowl invite. Like, teams are going to want the number one pick. The Bears might keep the number one pick and draft a quarterback. They got options, man, and you can't ask for much more than what Ryan Poles has gotten here. Like, for a second straight year, when he made that trade last year, he did not think he'd be picking number one again next year. Now, maybe he had an inkling Carolina may not be very good, but NFC South stinks, man. Like, Colin Cowherd, people were picking the Panthers to win that division. Now, I never thought they'd win the division, but I didn't think they'd be by far the worst team in football either. I thought it'd be like a top 5 pick, and it's number one before we even got to week 18. Fill in the blank for me. Just take a guess here. Caleb Williams will get drafted by the blank. Maybe you think it's the Bears. Maybe you think it's the Commanders, Patriots, Giants, another team that could trade up. Let us know who you guys think Caleb Williams will get drafted by. Okay, is Matt Eberflus set to come back next year, and has that decision already been made? Maybe it has. I don't know if Flus for sure knows one way or the other, but I hear a head coach when he talks speak with more confidence and more just like, I guess, less like Flusisms, as I used to call him earlier in the year. Now, maybe, he's just opened up more because the Bears are playing better. Who knows? But this quote I found interesting today. He said, "It's an exciting time to be a Chicago Bear and to be a Chicago Bears fan. There's a lot of bright things that are coming ahead of us in the future." Now, maybe he's just continuing to make little public pitches, I don't know, to this front office, but does that sound like a coach to you that's not going to be back next year? Like, I really do believe at this point in time, barring a blowout loss versus Green Bay, that he will be back. Now, if this is a week one type of performance where they're just not ready to go and they blow you out of their own building, that would not be good. Like, I think that could reopen the doors. But I think if the season ended today, they would keep Flus, and maybe the question would pivot to Luke Getsy and what decision they're going to make there. But obviously, I don't think they'll get blown out. Green Bay might very well win this game. There's no doubt about it. They have a lot to play for, but the Bears have a lot to play for. Justin Fields, Matt Eberflus, like, there's a lot of big decisions ahead, and beating your rival and knocking them out of the playoffs in Week 18 would certainly send a strong message, because think of this too. If you beat Green Bay, that means you will have beaten all 3 of your division rivals in the final, 6 weeks of the season? That kind of shows, like, hey, we can win this division. And by the way, in 2 of the 3 losses in the division you have, obviously you got spanked by Green Bay in Week 1, you should have beaten Detroit, and you very well could have beat Minnesota the first time you played them. Like, the Bears could win this division next year. It is not hyperbolic to say that at all, and you should definitely feel confident in that if you win this game on Sunday. So make no mistake, this is a huge game. This is a big opportunity to take momentum into the offseason, and you're Matt Eberflus, you should view this as a, hey, I got to win this game to secure my job. So we'll see how it goes. But he certainly sounds like a guy who's confident that he's going to be back. We'll see if that's actually the case. Do you want Matt Eberflus back next year? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I would still rather have Jim Harbaugh, but I will say I'm at least open to the idea of bringing him back now, whereas that really wasn't the case even after the Cleveland loss a couple of weeks ago. He wouldn't be my top choice, but anyone other than Jim Harbaugh, or I guess if you want to mention like Dan Quinn or Brian Flores, it's a complete unknown first-time head coach as well. Like, you don't know how it would all shake out. So I could certainly see the appeal to bringing him back. Especially if Jim Harbaugh is not a realistic option, but I still kind of think he is if they want to go that route. All right, real quick before we get out of here, injury report today. Tyson Bagent dealing with an illness. He wasn't at practice. Darnell Mooney still in the concussion protocol. Very possible that we've seen the end of Darnell Mooney in Chicago. I hope he's doing better soon. Hopefully he gets out of that concussion and can play on Sunday. Cole Kmet dealing with the knee. Jalen Johnson with the shoulder did not practice. But the way Flus talked, sounds like both those guys are going to play Sunday. They're just resting up. They're both really banged up right now, and limiting those physical reps during the week gives them a chance to play Sunday. I would expect them both to be out there. Patrick Scales did not practice. They brought in a long snapper, so we'll see if he's able to go. If not, they may have to go in a different direction for this game, so that's somewhat notable. And then DJ Moore limited with that ankle, but no concerns there whatsoever. He popped off on Sunday against Atlanta, and I would expect him to be full throttle on Sunday. All right, guys, that's it for today's episode of Chicago Bears Now. We are back live tomorrow afternoon. We will try to get a video out in the morning as well, so tune in to the channel for all of that by subscribing. We'll see you guys soon. Bear down.